I am of the pure mind of God. I am the resurrection and the life in my body, my finances, my relationships, and my world. I qualify everything in my world with perfection. I am perfection. I am this perfect day, and the life that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. I accept only God's perfection, His good, in my outer circumstances. I know in my heart that God is all in all. I am absolutely not concerned about what happens, because I know wonderful things are happening now.
Well, good day. I decided to actually try to work on my tan a little bit. I was getting kind of pale, and I figured I might as well start looking to roll for the summer. So, look like I hang out on the beach as much as I do. So anyway, today is another opportunity to do some more training. Obviously, you know I'm talking about the PTT training. That's what I do. That's what I've been focused with, and just bringing it back to the original stuff. So I want to go back to the beginning, and I want to talk about the original ABC break process, okay? So the original ABC break process, there's no better way for someone who wants to jumpstart momentum in a massively powerful way. So PTT is like this like magic alignment. It just, you can put yourself into the thought that you need to rest in, that holds the truth in place. Okay, that's critical. And you start from where you want to end. How you go into something is how you come out of it. If you go into something with error, you come out of it in deceitfulness. So what we want to do is we want to go to the energy frequency equivalent of where we're trying to get. Now take away all the pictures, all the images, all the the 5 sense phenomenon that you think you want at the end of the day. What you really are aiming towards is a place of radiance, okay? You're trying to radiate in a certain frequency. Now, the ABC break process is so simple because it allows you to disconnect from the reasoning mind. Step number 1, snap, it is not it. Disconnect from the reasoning mind. That alone right there is further than most anyone gets, because they actually engage the reasoning mind. They engage the very thing that's screwing their whole life up. And then they try to get answers from the very source of the problem. See, the problem is the reasoning mind always turns away from God and always turns towards ignorance and tries to come out of it with anything other than ignorance. And then it beats you up for not doing it. So it beats you up for not being able to solve the problems that it creates. How's that for a total quagmire, right? So let's do something different. We disconnect. We say, it is not it. Hey there. And when you disconnect from that, then you ask yourself a simple question. It's about surrendering human will to receive divine will. So could I allow for just this moment things to be exactly as they are? Could I allow even more for just this moment things to be exactly as they are? Yes or no? Releasing resistance, right? Now what we do is we get to a place of peace. So you sink and you rest in peace. R.I.P. Dead to the world, alive in spirit. You go to a place of peace. Look, here's one. You can just pretend you're here if you don't have one. By the way, this is where we'll be doing a lot of work for our workshop coming up. So we'll actually be going to the place of peace and doing some work on the beach and doing a lot of conditioning on the beach. That's the key. Mental conditioning. Not actually, swimming and lifting and running and all that stuff. You can do that on your own. We're talking about optimization of consciousness. It's the most important thing. Now, after you get to a place of peace, you go to the other side. In other words, you release the living imagination, the Christ, and you fill the deficiency that you've seen. You've seen a lack in your world. You have picked up some form of suffering. You fill it with the truth of Christ. In other words, turn on your favorite music with headphones. Turn up the volume. Get into the feeling of that ultimate experience. And then pour forth from thought, already having resolved the problem as if you're looking back on it 2 years after the fact, right? And you sit in that space for about 30 seconds with your music turned up, magnifying the emotional realm, okay? So you have the knowledge capacity, you're already looking back on it as if you already did it 2 years ago in that space of gratitude, knowing that it's already handled. And then you're pouring forth the highest, vibration that you can muster up by using your favorite music. They call it music because it's a muse. It moves you from one state to another. So you use it, okay? Now, you do this if you're serious. And by the way, this is part of the 0-point book training, okay? When you look at that book training, there is a sheet. It's from our original playbook from the Spiritual Millionaire Workshop. It's your daily tasks. And the important part about it is that you're going to use the ABC break process 5 to 10 times per day. It takes only a minute or two at the most to do it. And I'm talking about a total of 5 to 10 minutes. However, most people will not be disciplined enough to do this. And see, this is why spiritual work is the hardest work in the world. Because I can tell you to go out and run a mile every day or 5 miles, and you probably could do that real easily because you can just mindlessly just carry the meat sack and, trot along. But if I ask you to be disciplined, to turn away from the material evidence, go to the place of resting in the solution consciousness, amplifying your emotional state, and then I ask you to emerge from that space and walk in the world from that space, who can say they can do this day in and day out, 5 to 10 times a day, and make it a habit? It is super simple, but it takes a lot of discipline because you spend virtually all day, every day, in defiance to what God has commanded you to do. God has commanded you to be of one mind, of one, okay? One principal idea. Now, God commands you to live in the imagination of spirit. You're taking in all of the material evidence and bringing it into your imagination and blaspheming because you're allowing the carcass of this fictional fallen world to have its way with you. It's the tail wagging the dog. And you see, the discipline is you have to take command of the ship. Your ship is out of control. So doing this 5 to 10 times a day sets a precedent and sets you back on course. And it gets you away from all of this material evidence that is all being simulated by AI. By the way, they're already quantum computing. It's already being done, and they're tracking every single person because this is not a physical matrix. It is a spiritual matrix. So what you think they told you exists and what this and that, you don't even know the half of it. You're living in an advanced simulation of the most complex computing system you could ever imagine. And your avatar that you think you're identifying with, okay? The true you is an imagination like a radio signal, right? It's the eternal signal. It's life itself. You don't have an imagination, it has you. It is the allness of spirit. It's the only life you'll ever truly have. There's only one life, substance, intelligence. The kingdom is living imagination. However, see, the avatar is like the signal reaching the radio box. And if you're like the radio box, you're identifying with something that you're not. The physical is what you are not. It's actually fear that drives you into it. So I put out a message today and I talked about how, isn't it interesting that this simulation seems to know the exact moment your vibration gets high enough to where you're starting to escape its clutches, and it sends you the exact trigger that makes you stumble to bring your consciousness back into that body and to bring you back into duality and to bring you back into human suffering, right? Isn't it amazing that it has that level of knowledge to track and trace you? Isn't it funny this thing, track and tracing is coming out? You don't think that that's already like here in a spiritual sense? It's like you have been tracked for all of eternity. You have been bound in this outer realm superstition, this Babylonian system for eons. Every great person who is either a sage or a psychotic or both, who has pierced through the veil, has always discovered that this is not it. This place is an illusion. So what isn't an illusion? Well, what is the one thing this place knows nothing of? Well, I could go ask any of these avatars in flesh if they could describe to me what I'm imagining right now. So say, for instance, I'm on this walk right here. Let's say I'm imagining myself walking on Mount Shasta right now, and I'm heading up to the mountain to go meditate with Saint Germain. Okay? That's where I am right now in my consciousness, by the way. Do you see that? You watching me. This isn't even physical, by the way. This is all electronic radio signal frequency simulation coming to your five senses right now. See, but the drunkenness of your human mortal mind is telling you that there is a physical man right here, and he sure as heck is not walking on Mount Shasta, because I can see it for myself. He's actually in Sheboygan on the pier walking that way towards, whatever, 8th Street, right? Well, unfortunately, you are incorrect, because what you think you saw is a dead carcass. And so you've been living this way your entire mortal existence, and you've been allowing all of that data to govern your decisions and to qualify your experience based on a faulty premise. And that premise is that what you see, smell, hear, taste, and touch has any truth to it whatsoever. I submit to you right now that I am in the spirit, and I am walking on Mount Shasta, and I am feeling the warm breeze. I'm looking at the dirt trail, and there's nothing but stillness. It's an empty terrain where I'm at right now. Now, this is all something you could say, well, you're just making this up. You're like pretending that you're bilocating, Matt, and this is all just a bunch of, this is really ridiculous. You're getting off into the psychotic side now, right? Okay, well, let me ask you this. If Einstein said that imagination is a sneak preview of life's coming attractions. And Neville Goddard said imagination is the only life man has to know. And Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas that whoever has discovered the world has found a great corpse. Whoever has found the corpse, the world is not worthy of him. What do you think they were talking about? Okay, what do you think it meant? Hello? I'll tell you exactly what it meant. You see, what do you think would happen if I clothed myself in the finest garment of imagination through an ABC break process, and I trained myself repeatedly, day in and day out, how to instinctively go there quick, because it's actually what you repeatedly do that becomes the unconscious competent habit. It's a mechanical movement. It's like training yourself to throw a baseball or shoot a hockey puck or dunk a basketball, right? You're actually conditioning yourself how to use the one thing that you were given, right? Now, in my book, 0 Point, I talk to you about there's only one thing that you were actually given. See, you are a ray like worshiping the sun, and the sun is the living imagination. It's the Son of God. There's only one. Okay? You are partaking of life as a child or an offspring in imagination or spirit. The one thing you were given was the free will to choose whom you shall serve. In other words, who you will be governed by. Mortality, fiction, the five senses. You've been doing that your whole life. How's it been working for you? I'll tell you what, every great athlete, every great inventor, every great author, every great mystic has always heavily leaned on imagination. In other words, if we have a teeter-totter here, and most people are like this and they deify reasoning, and reasoning is of the devil, and that's why you have all these institutions of, idiots, absolute idiots. They create everything in this science and they leave the creator out of the creation. Okay? It's moronville every which way you look. Because, you see, they've taken all of their data in and they've strengthened their mind in a world that is ashes to ashes and dust to dust. It's not principle, it's the counterfeit of principle. Like if you see a mud puddle and you see a tree's reflection, the tree is real, it has roots, it's substance. But if you see the mud puddle, you see the invert reality, inversion of reality. So all of these brilliant minds, okay, that are exalted in the world's knowledge, they have studied the mud puddle and they've dissected every component of it and they've looked at the laws of how the mud puddle works, but they have no concept that it's nothing but an inverted, reflected, fictional superstition of materiality. You see, imagination, when you can decide in your heart that, you've had enough, right? You start to go to that place and you start to correct your thought. You start to correct the ideas that you allow in thought. Remember, blasphemy is you took some graven image from out there, some mortal opinion, and you ate it in your imagination. You consumed it. Now you have to pay the utter farthing consequence of that because you have to experience what you have given yourself to. And the reason why is so that the sinner can be reformed. Re-formed means you be formed in spirit. It's so you will just up and just walk out of this place like stepping out of the gutter, okay? You're going to step out of mortality like stepping out of the gutter. Now, the ABC break process, when you condition yourself to do it again and again and again, 10 times a day, and you realize what you're actually doing, is you're actually building what they would call these neural pathways that are allowing you to slip into an altered state of consciousness at will, on command, on demand, within seconds, and then ultimately within less than a second, it becomes like a hair trigger, automatic, spontaneous reaction what do you think you're going to do automatically over a period of a lot of repetition? Is you're going to automatically leave mortality and slip right into the imagination, right into the solution. See, when the problem comes, human reasoning is to sit and mull it over and to study that mud puddle and then try to discern what those laws are saying, when in fact you should be walking right out of that gutter altogether. Hello. Sorry, I just got to sneak by you guys. And so you should just walk and lift right out of that mud puddle, and you should begin to go right into the solution consciousness and into the feeling space. And you see, if you've done this 10 times a day for 10 days, which is what the 10-day blitz is in 0 point, if you've done this for 10 times a day for 10 days, you're going to start to automatically occupy that realm without having to do all the steps to get there. See, the purpose of creating techniques and why I create all these simplified techniques that are the demonstration of wisdom applied in your life is because you will undo the technique when you no longer need it. So I don't need to use ABC break process. I can walk on this pier and I can instantly just roll my eyes up into alpha brainwaves and go into a theta brainwave, and I can just clothe myself as if I'm on Mount Shasta. Now, what use is that? What use is that? Well, when you understand the book Think and Grow Rich, the author talked about having a mentorship table where a mastermind, and you can even imagine people there. Well, what do you think they're doing? See, you don't live in the flesh. Everything is mind. So when I bring to mind all that is desired, I can tap into consciousness, and I can read other people's thoughts. And I've done this at workshop. It's so simple. I can do it online and I can do it in person. I can sit next to a person and I can go into a theta brainwave and I can step into their frequency and I can just allow their thought to come into my awareness. And you see, that's not that special. You see, Phineas Parkhurst Quimby discovered this. He was one of my first teachers when I had the Lyme, and he taught Mary Baker Eddy, by the way. And what Phineas did is Phineas found this mesmer guy. That's where they came up with mesmerism. It's hypnosis. And he would put him under hypnosis. And under hypnosis, Mesmer could read the thoughts of anyone in the room. And he could also read the thoughts of what they call dead people. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm showing you the steps to get to this level of ultimate self-mastery. So, take the 10-day challenge. Buy the book when it comes out. Buy the book. What I've done with 0 point and what we're building to the workshop is I am going to work with you so militantly. Spiritual Special Forces 2.0 is what this is. To get you to walk in this level of consciousness without having to use technique after technique after technique, because you will no longer need the technique. And then you will be able to tune into the allness of spirit on command, on demand. So when you are confronted with illusion, you will be able to pierce through the veil instantly, step into truth, see the unreality of sin, sickness, disease, poverty, suffering. You will know the unreality of it because you will be so firmly rooted in imagination that you will not fall drunk to those five senses anymore. And that is the beginning phases of what is called Ascended Master Training. Now, Ascended Master Training is ultimately to get yourself prepared so that you can be in the realm of meeting an Ascended Master, which you probably already have. You just were not fully coherent at the time that it was an Ascended Master, because they're always coming in. If you're on the spiritual path, you probably have already met one, and you just don't realize it yet. Now, you want to prepare yourself because this is the next level. You see, when you can multiply the loaves and the fishes, because you realize there is no physical bread. It's all thought substance, and you can tap into the realm of all of that, and you can just see it done, feel it done, and then align with it, let it come into reality, and you have no doubt because you've practiced and practiced and practiced. Just like in the basketball court, if I threw you a one-time jump shot, whatever, if you've practiced and practiced and practiced, and you were like one of your signature shots, you're just doing the layup, you'd have no doubt it's going in, no doubt whatsoever. But see, if you put me in the basketball court and you gave me the ball, I'd probably have a substantial doubt whether it's going to go in or not, because I don't play basketball. And see, what's the difference between winners and losers in the game? Training. It's training. Training makes the difference. Perfect training. Okay? Training in the perfect way. And so I submit to you that you get this physical book, 0 Point Ultimate Truth is Love. I built it like a playbook. It's got note sheets in there for you to take notes on the 5 video series course. And it's got the daily action playbook sheets, so you can work with those. And at the workshop, I'll be breaking those all down and training people, ultimately to the degree that, you see, by the time you're done with the workshop, you probably won't even have to think about it anymore, because we're going to train. And then we're going to do a 30-day immersion training online after we get together. So I'm going to get everything in alignment, and then we're going to just carry it home for 30 days after and see if we can just do 10x what we've done in the last, 2 30-day workshops that we've done in the last year. Because we've done them both online. There's been no in-person, there's been no submission or, immersion training with the collective in the same space where we're, all on the same page, because we do it online and everybody shows up. You do it in person, everybody shows up. And we have full access to each other at that training. And it's also a spiritual family. You get to just bond with everybody. You really should click the link below. You really should come to this while it's still discounted, because the tickets are selling. We've sold quite a few already, and I'm pretty certain we're going to sell out probably within 30 days, all right? Now, with that said, there'll be other bonuses and things, but the first bonus I'm releasing, the first bonus is that for that one-time, submission registration fee, which is already heavily discounted, so you can afford to get your ticket to fly or your gas or your room, whatever you're going to do. It's like 60% off, so you can use it towards that. Make yourself a vacation to come be with your spiritual family. I want you to really enjoy this, okay? And when you're done, you can be like, man, that was like ridiculously cheap for what I got out of it. That's what I want for you. Because afterward, then we're going to kick off. Bonus number 1 is a 30-day online training immediately afterward. And then that's going to give you the momentum to move forward in a way that you probably have never done before. All right? It would be like, going to a skills clinic in sports and practicing with the best, and then going immediately into a high-level tournament where you have to actually use your skills for 30 days. You would be at your top form. Okay? So that's what I want for you. Check out the links below, and by all means, get the physical book. Start to journal in it. I know it's not ready yet because we're still doing submissions and editing, and the issue we've had with this book is that it's got to be a playbook, it's got to be a mind map, and it's got to be like 3 things in one. And it's also got to facilitate as a workshop in itself. So it's got to do all 3 things, and so we've had to go back and forth 4 times now. Hopefully it's done soon, but once those physical books come, get a bunch of them and stock them, because they're 10-day blitzes for each one. And if you got the extra money around and you really want to go all in, get to the workshop. Just do it, all right? You can see if you go to the workshop link, at least just go in and check out the reviews. I've got 33 or 34 past participant reviews, and maybe you'll hear something that'll resonate with you, as in what am I going to get out of this? Why can't I just watch your free stuff online? Well, you can. That's always here for you. That's ministry. I'm a minister, so we don't charge for this, right? You could take what I just gave you and get further ahead than 99% of people on this planet, because all they do is think about the problem and try to use human reasoning by studying the mud puddle and try to get out of it that way when it doesn't work, okay? That alone right there sets you in the top 5% of people, consciously speaking, in the world. If you apply it, not if you just know it, you have to actually apply it. That's the challenge for today, is when you're gonna apply it. When you're gonna go all in. When you're gonna do it 10 times a day for 10 days and do a blitz. Because when you do, man, it's gonna set your world on fire. Then, if you think that was good, what I'm telling you is come to the workshop and then give 100% there. And then see what you can do. You don't know what you're capable of because you probably haven't given, very few people, very, very few people. In fact, I was guilty of this myself for most of my life. Very few people have ever given 100 every single day. Every single day. I'm not asking you to do it for a whole year. I'm just saying do it for 10 days. And if you can do it for 10 days, then I'm going to challenge you to do it live in a workshop, and I'm going to take you to the next level for a few days, and then I'm going to do 30 days, see if you can do it for 30 days. And if you can do it for 30 days, I think you can do it every day for the rest of your life. Sometimes people ask me, they say, well, Matthew, don't you think you overtrain? I mean, I do, I run these hills with my weight vest, and then I also, walk 5 to 7 miles a day, and then I work out really hard each day, most days. I take like one day off a week, which is necessary. But the thing is that in their mind, I probably do overtrain, and it's probably not the best if I'm trying to be vain and just build, muscle, because I'm probably breaking down more according to human belief, right? I don't do it for that. The reason why I do it is because I made a decision that I would give 100 every day. And so to me, 100 is 100. It means that when I do something, they say how you do anything is how you do everything. So I try to give 100 in every venue, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you start doing this, if you give 100 to the spiritual walk, then you're going to go all the way and you're going to make it and you're going to be ascended. Really, if you have read any of your Bible or any of your, Eastern religion, whatever you've been studying, all roads lead to the same place. You must ascend out of this simulation at some point in your reincarnated experience. Otherwise, you're going to keep going again and again and again, because this is a school and you haven't yet graduated. And so I'm telling you, are you going to graduate this time around or not? Because the opportunity is sitting right in front of you. Check it out below.